Good afternoon. My name is Sanjay Bhatt. I'm the Public Information Officer for Kitsap Transit. You've registered for a webinar today where we will be providing an update on changes to the fast-ferry reservation system. Thank you for taking the time to register and attend. Over the course of the webinar, if you have any questions, there is a box in your screen there that is labeled questions, and you can type a question in there, and if we don't get the question answered by the end of this webinar, we will get back to you later on that. So today's agenda, we will be doing an overview of the reservation system, talking about some of the feedback we've received from users, and talking about upcoming changes, talking about the ORCA number requirement. We'll reserve some time for a demo, and then we'll also take your questions. Can everyone hear me? I just want to, before I get too far down the road here. Yes, okay, good, you can hear me. Yes, this session is being recorded, and we will make it available for folks who were not able to attend, and yes, the slides will be available to the public. So thank you so much for typing in your feedback. It helps me a lot. So let's get started. So approximately a year ago, we launched the reservation system. It grew out of a desire to offer predictability for our commuters using a service that, as you know, is in high demand. You may not know that yesterday our board awarded a contract to 49's Technologies. This is the consultant that the agency will be working with to evaluate our existing reservation system and our requirements, and analyzing alternative available systems and helping us determine the cost of those different systems as well as the cost of building a custom system. At this point, I don't have a timeline as to when all of that will be completed, but I did want to make you aware of that. For the foreseeable future, we will be using the existing vendor, RocketRes. So some of the themes that we've heard from our users is that, yes, you want fewer clicks, a faster process. You want the ability to book trips on multiple days in one transaction, the ability to cancel one leg of a round trip. I definitely hear a lot of folks saying that they just want to be able to get reservations for sailings, and that oftentimes they're unable to because they've all been exhausted or taken. So that leads into, a desire to crack down on abuses of the system, such as people who are using bots or scripts, as well as just the folks who seem to book a lot of trips and then don't show up for them, which hurts the rest of our riders who are desperately trying to get reservations. And then finally, another theme we've heard is a desire for a mobile app with real-time information. So what we're going to talk about is what are the enhancements that we will be rolling out later this month, actually next week. So in terms of efficiency, the users will be able to book a week of trips in each direction in one order. Every trip that you book will be a one-way trip, making it easier to cancel one leg of a trip. Right now, when you book a trip, you can either book a one-way trip or you can book a round trip, but when you want to cancel a round trip, it cancels the whole round trip. In terms of addressing some of the abuses with people using bots or scripts, we are actually planning to put a CAPTCHA screen into the workflow to try to combat the use of bots and scripts. Also, in terms of trying to address the abuse of hoarding reservations, right now you just have to use an email address to identify yourself. We will now be requiring a ORCA number, and I'll get into a detail of how that will work in a minute. And each account will be limited to one trip per day in each direction. So for example, currently we have some folks who are booking reservations for all 3 afternoon sailings from Seattle to Bremerton because, you know, if you are unable to make one of the sailings, then you have a reservation for a later sailing. We wanna discourage that, so we're gonna limit the account to 1 trip per day in each direction. And thank you for submitting your questions. We'll get to them soon. I see here one of the questions is, can the CAPTCHA screen be an easy one instead of matching 100 street signs? Thank you. We'll get to those. In terms of the ORCA number requirement, so when you go to your account profile, there will be an ORCA ID field, and you will type in your last name followed by the last 5 digits of your 8-digit ORCA number. And as you can see there on the screen, there's a sample ORCA card, and on the left, the bottom of the card, there's an 8-digit number. So you'll enter those, your last name plus the last 5 digits there. So for example, my last name is Bot, and so it'll be, as you can see, Bot, and then the last 5 digits, no space between your last name and the digits. And if you are a UPass holder, you will use the number that's on the back of your card. It's also an 8-digit number, and the same applies. You'll put your last name in, and then the last 5 digits of that 8-digit number. If the system does not accept your number, you'll need to contact our customer service. And if you have an ORCA number registered through your work, you'll use the ORCA number that is on the card that your employer has given you. And yes, the ORCA card number you will put into the system, and you'll only have to do that once in your account profile. So before I get into the demo, there's a lot of questions that have come in about the ORCA card number, and let me just try and answer some of those off the bat here. Yes, if you have, like I said, if you have a UPass, you'll use the number on the back of your UPass card. What if I have to book 2 reservations for each trip, one for my kid? We may have to get back to you on that. When you book a trip, you're allowed to book up to 2 passengers, so yourself and 1 other person. If you try to book more than 2 people on a single trip, it will ask you to contact customer service. Okay, there's some questions here that I think may be answered during our demo. Someone is asking, can you add the ORCA card number today? No, you will be able to when we launch the system next week. You're asking a lot of great questions, and you're going faster than I can keep up. So let me try to kind of show you the site that's in development right now, and please be patient with me. Kind of juggling a lot here, so if just hold on 1 second. Okay, I have now got the kind of beta version of the enhanced Rocket Res on my screen. You should be able to see it. As you can see, there are no round trips. It's now one-way trips. And from the first screen here, you will click on My Account. And assuming you're already logged in to one of the social accounts, it will bring up your account here. And from the account screen, this is where you'll enter your that ID number, and it'll ask you to enter it in twice. And the reason for that is, you know, sometimes we make a typo when we type in a number, and so asking you to type the number in twice is a widely used practice to catch typos. If the first and second entries there don't match, when you hit the save button down below here, it's not going to accept it. It's going to ask you to go back and correct the typo. So once you've confirmed your ORCA number, you'll click Save. Now let's get to selecting the trips. So if I want to reserve a one-way trip, I'll just click here on reserve a seat. I'm going to select 3 adults just so you can see what happens here. I'm going to choose times, and it's going to say I need to call customer service if I'd like to get more than 2 seats reserved. So I'm going to reduce this now to just 1 person, and I'm going to click choose times. And as you can see here, it's now giving me the times that are available for the week of June the 6th. And I'm going to select the first sailing of the morning. And since this week is almost over, it's just going to show me the last 2 days here. So let me go back here and pick another week. Let's pick next week. I'm going to pick 6/15, and I want all 5 days of the week here. But let's say I only go in to work 4 days a week and I'm off on Fridays. So I can click here on Friday, and down here at the bottom, it'll say not required. Select to skip that day. Or let's say on Fridays I go in later to work. So I'll select the second sailing of the morning instead. For this exercise, I'm going to click not required. So once I've made my selections for the week, I'm going to click next. Okay. I'm just checking in here and want to see if there's any questions about this so far. Okay, so after you've done that, you're going to click continue, and it's going to just double check that your contact information is there, and then you're going to click next. And then on this last screen, you are going to be basically agreeing to our terms and conditions. Click I agree. And the last screen here will be that you want to process the reservation. Now, I do realize that it shows a dollar sign there, but there's no payment taken at the time. It's just basically confirming. Now, when you have booked your reservations for those 5 one-way trips or those 4 one-way trips, you're going to get one email that has the barcodes for all those trips in that email for that particular week. So it's important that you keep that email if you're going to be actually sailing multiple times during the given week. And so that's the quick and dirty demo. Let's get to some questions now. Give me 1 second. So are you required to pay with the same ORCA card you reserved with? No, you're not. Will we be able to create accounts and add our ORCA numbers prior to next month's registration to make sure there aren't issues? Yes, that is correct. So part of the reason that we are opening up the system next week is to make sure that we have a couple of weeks before July 1st for us to deal with any issues where ORCA card numbers are not being accepted by our system. We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and has got their registration set up correctly before the reservation window opens up on July 1st. Why are we still allowing reservations for 2 passengers? I guess the question there, Fred, is why are we allowing 2 and not just limit it to 1? That's been a policy decision. It's certainly something we could revisit. But if you'll remember, we used to allow people to reserve for up to 4 passengers, and we cut that back down to 2. We wanted to obviously be a little bit flexible if people have to have a medical appointment and they have a travel companion with them, or if they have to take their kid with them. So the notice that came out said that you would only be able to book 1 trip for each booking. You just said that you can book 2 passes. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there, but what we're trying to communicate here is that you will be able to book multiple trips in one transaction. So as I showed you here, again, we'll go through this one more time. We're going to click on reserve a seat. We're going to click on one adult, click choose times, and then for next week, I want the, let's say the 8:35 a.m. And now it's going to automatically assume that I want every single day that week. That way, we're minimizing the number of clicks that you have to make. And then you just click next. And then it's just confirming that you're going to be going on every single day. And you'll be paying $10 for each trip on your ORCA card. And then it's confirming your contact information. And then you're going to click next again. And then you're going to agree to these conditions. And then you're going to process it. And then it's going to send the barcodes for those 5 trips in one email to you. So hopefully that makes sense. When the system is launched on the 11th, will that open reservations up for July or for the rest of June? It will just be for the rest of June. The reservations, when we open the reservation window on July 1st, wait, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me just confirm here one thing. Okay, so I misstated that. So when we open up the enhanced version on the 11th of June, you will be able to make reservations all the way through the end of July, because currently with the current system, you can make reservations through the end of July. I work for King County, and my badge with my picture is also my ORCA card. Do I use the number on that card? Yes, you will use that number on that card. It would be great to be able to create an account without having to use a social site. Well, Corey, thanks for that feedback. We'll relay that to the to our designer of the system. Please stay on the My Account page. Has anyone asked about offering a higher price service where I can pre-order and pay in advance for all my trips for the month? You know, Rick, that's a policy question. So I'm gonna that's a decision above my above my pay grade. So we'll pass that along to management. And let's see. Will the system stop prompting for account info confirmation with each reservation action? I think what you're asking there is, once you've entered in your ORCA card number, you're wondering if it's going to ask for it every single time you use the reservation system, and the answer is no. Once you've entered the ORCA card number into your account profile and you have saved it, the next time you go back to make your reservations, when you log in via your social account, whether it's Twitter or Gmail or Facebook or what have you, it's going to automatically know that your ORCA ID number is already stored in the system. And again, that's why we're launching this on June the 11th, so that we can make sure that if there's any issues, we're addressing those with plenty of time before July 1st. What happens in the system if one run is sold out during the week that you choose? Okay, so that's a great question. Let me go back here and show you. So for example, here, let's say we pick this week, not last week, but this week. And I want to pick the 8:35. So if that's sold out, it's going to show an X here, is my understanding. And it's got over here on the side where it says available, that's not going to say available. It'll be red. And so you'll know right here on the screen that sailing is not available for that day. Let's see, what else do we have here? It seems like if you collect payment at the time of reservation, that would be good. Well, again, that's a policy decision. The purpose of this webinar is to kind of show you how this enhancement is going to work. So we'll relay that feedback. What happens if one day of the week is already booked up if attempting to reserve the entire week? I think we just addressed that. If that day is booked up, then it's just like the current system. There's no reservations available for that that day of the week. Yes, the default is a whole week selected for a given order. Oh, that's a good question. When the system goes live, will our current reservations be canceled for July? The answer is no. People will mistakenly book a whole week. Well, I think that we heard a lot of folks loud and clear that they wanted fewer clicks, and that a lot of our regular riders and our commuters wanted to be able to get through this process quicker. So this system is really geared towards our commuters who are riding frequently. Obviously, there are many screens here that are going to help you confirm whether you in fact want these dates. Another question here is, what about wheelchairs and bikes? That's a good question. We are doing away with the reservations for bikes. We have found over the past year that we don't really have a capacity issue when it comes to that, and so that is a question that our reservation system consultant can take a look at. But to simplify the system and reduce the number of screens and clicks, we've done away with that. And we're still looking at how we want to deal with the question of how you reserve if you have a wheelchair, and we will provide more information about that. Let's see. Other questions. Can you use two ORCA numbers when making a reservation for two people the same day? No. And again, we're not taking payment here at the time that we're making the reservation. The goal here is that we're trying to make the process faster, and we would like you to use one ORCA number. Let's see. If one day fills up before you complete the reservation, what happens? I can tell you that won't happen. Can you explain the last number and ORCA number again? Be happy to. That is a little confusing, I'll admit. So again, if you look at your ORCA card, if you have it with you, take it out, and you'll see at the bottom of your ORCA card, there are two sets of numbers. There is a 3-digit number on the bottom right corner, and there is an 8-digit number on the left bottom corner. And what we want you to do is we want you to enter your last name, followed by those last 5 digits of your ORCA card number. Is there a plan to create a mobile app that will be able to be used for making a reservation and for having the barcodes assigned to you in the app? That's a great question. We've gotten that in the past. I think it's something that our reservation system consultant can take a look at, but it's not going to be part of this this push. Will it be possible to cancel in less than 2 hours? That's a great question as well, Fred. We don't, that's really a policy decision, and it's not something that we're going to be changing here in this next update. And as I said again, this new enhanced reservation system will launch on Monday, June 11th. And one of the questions we've gotten is, will the current system be turned off? And that answer is yes. So on Monday, June 11th, the new reservation system will be in effect, and the old one will be turned off. But by 9 a.m. on Monday, June the 11th, and just to make sure the message is out there, the system will not lose any of the reservations that have been booked. It will retain those. It's just that we're changing the interface that you're going to be using to book reservations. Why are reservations limited to just 1 week at a time? As a monthly commuter, I'd like to be able to book for my full month of travel. You know, that's a valid question. Policy decision was made to allow you to book a week at a time instead of booking up a whole month. As you can see from the demo, for those people who do not need a whole week's worth of reservations, we're literally going to be forcing those folks to uncheck the other 4 days of the week. So we had to strike a balance here, Scott. When will the annoying no-shows be held accountable? You know, and that there's another question there. Will there be a penalty if you don't use your reservation and don't cancel it? So you kind of hit the nail on the head. We have a very significant no-show rate, and that doesn't really serve our riders very well because those no-shows are taking up reservations that could have been used by someone else. It doesn't serve our agency well because sometimes the boat leaves with empty seats. And so we've been trying to gradually test different approaches to see what will work. As I said earlier, we used to allow people to book up to 4 passengers on a reservation. We now only, we're going to be bringing that down to just 2. We're also going to be limiting how many trips you can book in a day. And now we're going to be requiring an ORCA ID. At some point here, we will have to come up with an enforcement mechanism, such as blocking the account of someone who is a chronic no-show. But we're trying to, respect the fact that this is that it's a relatively small number of folks, hopefully, who are doing this. But it's a great question, and it's one that our board and our executive director have been wrestling with. So I don't have an answer, a final answer on that. Gosh, you guys are keeping the questions coming fast and furious. I love it. Let's see. So someone has asked, my wife and I usually travel together and reserve our seats together. Sometimes one of us has a change of plans. Will we be able to cancel one of us without canceling the other? We'll have to get back to you on that. I was unable to get any reservations for June and July. Will I have a chance to try again next week? Unfortunately, we're not going to be wiping the slate clean. Like I said, the reservations that are already in the system will be retained. So you'll just have to go into the system and see what's left. When entering the ORCA number in the profile, is it just the number or the last name and the last 5 digits? Okay, so Martin, I have a screen up right now that shows an example there. Is the reservation system opening on Sundays? No, because we're not. Hold on 1 second. So just to clarify on that, so we don't operate the fast ferry on Sundays, but the reservation system is accessible online 7 days a week. Let's see. I have to hear every day groups of people trading for reservations each day. It needs to stop. Elisa, I am totally sympathetic to that. I don't have a great answer for you at this point. We are hoping that these new controls will help between the implementation of a CAPTCHA, an ORCA ID requirement, limiting people to accounts to 1 trip per day. We're hoping that these will have a significant impact. Let's see. Will the cancellation process finally be enforced? We're going to be exploring that, Stephanie. Let's see. One question asked about the return trips. So when you are booking your sailing, if you're obviously you're making a round trip, um, you're going to need to go through this process in each direction. So from the first screen here, let me just start over here. You will have to do all your trips for the week from Bremerton to Seattle, and then all your trips back from Seattle to Bremerton. Let's see. The CAPTCHA will be, our intention is the CAPTCHA will be live on June the 11th, and as well on July 1st. I can definitely hear some folks here saying that they would like to be able to cancel an hour before their reservation, and not be required to do it 2 hours before. I think part of the reason that we've set that 2 hour mark is that a lot of folks who are trying to make travel plans who can't get reservations are having to take WSF, and it's a 1 hour trip. And so if a reservation becomes open 1 hour before, it doesn't really give other travelers enough time to change their plans. Let's see. Okay, someone wants us to show what happens if one of your days is not available. So I'll go back and demonstrate that. Someone is saying, I'm assuming this doesn't really start until August 1st. No, that's not correct. This is starting on June 11th, and it will be used for the July 1st reservation window for August sailings. Okay, so I'm going to demo this one more time. So from this screen here, you'll first click on My Account. You'll go in here, you'll type in the ORCA number, and then you'll save that. It will then take you back to this screen. You will reserve a seat. You will click 1, whichever of these categories applies. Choose your time, and it's this week. This is not live, so it's not going to necessarily show sailings that aren't available. But I can click on a time here, and if I don't want Thursday, I could just select a different time, or I can say it's not required to skip it, and then I move on. Okay, if you are taking a bike on, then I would suggest it's just going to be first come, first serve. We haven't really been seeing a capacity issue when it comes to our bikes. Another question here. Let's see if, let's say you make a reservation for 5 trips for 1 week. Are you able to cancel one of those 5 trips at a later time when your schedule changes? The answer is yes. The way you do that would be you go to your order history and you would delete that trip. Again, we're going to launch this on June the 11th, and you'll have time to get familiar with the interface. One of you was actually typing in the web address here and trying to access the QA site. It is not accessible to the public. It will be accessible to you on Monday, June the 11th, starting at 9 a.m. Allowing multiple passengers still leaves room for abuse, leaves those walk-ups no way of knowing if they'll make the boat. Thaddeus, I can certainly sympathize, but that's a policy decision. Let's see. There aren't any reservations left for July, so the real test won't happen until July 1st. Okay, fair enough. Let's see here. Will we be able to preload our ORCA card info before the window opens next week for reservations through July? No, I don't believe. On June 11th, when it opens, you'll be able to enter your ORCA card information. Let's see. I can see some of you are still frustrated that there's a lot of extraneous clicks. We've tried to slim it down, and again, one of the things that our reservation consultant will look at is how we can slim it down even further. But if you please keep in mind that currently you have to go through this process literally for every single trip, and now you'll be able to do it for a whole week's worth at one time. Let's see. Will there be a CAPTCHA screen for each reservation week selected? We'll have to get back to you on that. Have you done something to increase the bandwidth and server response for everyone hitting the site at the same time with multiple server requests? As a matter of fact, we have. We actually tested it on the 1st of this month. We went to I believe, additional servers, CPUs and processors, and you may have noticed an increase in this processing speed, and we'll be continuing that going forward. Let's see. I know some of you are saying you'd like to be able to book a round trip using the system, but we are doing away with the round trip booking because it just is easier to be able to cancel a one-way trip. Someone else has asked here, are you still able to book for the entire month or just 1 week of reservations? With the new system, you'll be able to book a week at a time, or you can book for a single day. But if you want to book the entire month, you'll have to go through the process at least 4 times, one for each week and for each direction. So do you have any insight on why some people can no longer make reservations with Chrome? That's a new one on me. We'll have to look into that. Thank you for letting us know about that. Can you clarify if on June 11th reservations are being taken for the remainder of June, or will it be just for July? Okay, so just to clarify that question, in the current reservation system, you can book a reservation for the rest of June and through the end of July in the current system, because we allow you to book for the current month and through the end of the following month. So when we open this new system on June the 11th, it's basically the same rule. You'll be able to book your reservations, whatever's left, that is, for the rest of June and through the entirety of July. Now that reservations are being tied to ORCA cards, will KT start charging penalties for those not canceling reservations they are not going to use? You know, that's certainly something we're going to have to look at with the unique ID here. We will be making it harder for people to create anonymous accounts, and it does give us a little more leverage than we have now to start enforcing the no-show rules. If they mistakenly book an entire week using the straightforward process, maybe they shouldn't be using computers as they can. Well, thank you for that comment. Let's see. Does the system now hold your reservation until the end of the transaction? The current system will let you select a trip, but then when you go to process, it says it's no longer available. Answer is yes, it will. So once you begin the process, it will hold that reservation until you get to the end of the transaction. One of you is asking, what impact will these changes have on how quickly the prime time slots fill up? The truth is we're not going to know until we actually launch this system and when we have a reservation window open. Will the last name continue to suffice in lieu of having my ticket with me? I think you're asking about if you come to the dock without your barcoded ticket. And, you know, I think what I would suggest is that you want to be bringing your ticket with you we may be lenient, but it's a good idea to have your phone with you and have those barcodes emailed to you. What time on Monday, June the 11th? 9 a.m. Pacific. Okay, let's see. Is there a policy against bots and scripts? Will bot users be detected and banned? Please do so. What I'm told is that with the CAPTCHA, we're hoping that this will be a effective deterrent for bots and scripts, and we'll just have to evaluate how that goes. Please explain, how do I log in to make a reservation? I'm not understanding what you mean using social media platforms. Okay, let me try and explain that again. We've got about 20 minutes left in our time together, and you've been asking great questions, all of you. Let's see here. So when you click on My Account, you'll be presented with this screen here. And for those of you who are familiar with this, please bear with me. But you need to have a Google, Facebook, Microsoft, or Twitter account to be able to access our system. And it's free, and there's plenty of tutorials online on how to create one of these accounts. So if you're still having problems with that, please contact our customer service department, and we'll try and help you through that process. Is the ORCA ID field being verified against an ORCA database, or is it simply a unique identifier? You know, at this point, it's a unique identifier. If we need to start auditing, that's a question for another day. Did you say the UPass we used the last 5 numbers? Yes. For the UPass, again, look on the back of your card. There's an 8-digit number. You will type in your last name followed by the last 5 numbers of that number. On Monday, we don't need to do anything with the current June, July, just add our ORCA card, correct? You can do it on Monday of next week. You can do it on Tuesday of next week. You can do it whenever. We're just opening it up starting on Monday, and we're giving our users several weeks time to get their ID number correctly in there before July 1st. It might be in your best interest to do that as soon as you can, because if someone accidentally types in your number, you'll need to contact customer service to get that resolved. Let's see here. It's one of you has asked, will you be canceling existing reservations where individuals have booked multiple sailings in one direction on any given day? That's a great question. My guess is we will not. My guess is we will not be doing that, but going forward, people won't be able to do that. I think this entire process is a big step in the right direction. Thank you. Well, thank you for that comment, Maxwell. Has there been any talk about increasing the number of reservations and reducing the number of walk-ons? You know, that's a policy discussion. I would suggest that our board is having conversations about how do we optimize the number of reservations and yet still keep the boat reasonably full and accessible to walk-ons. I know tons of commuters who simply take the 2 reservations and then broker them out. It needs to be addressed. Okay, Elisa, we'll pass this along to our board and our management. Thank you. Okay, one of you has asked here, I also heard some have used bots to mass reserve quickly. Anything being done to block bot activity, like bringing back a simpler CAPTCHA? Yes, the answer is we will be bringing back a CAPTCHA. You'll see it, and we'll see how that goes. Will you be sharing? Wow, that's a good question. Let's see. Will you be sharing metrics on the system, such as no-show rate or number of walk-ups that were turned around? You know, it's a little bit tricky with our current system to we just don't have a way to track the number of walk-ups that are not that are not boarding. What we do have the ability to do is count the number of boarding passes that were handed out to reservation holders. It is an additional burden on our frontline staff to track that, but it's something that we're certainly taking a look at. Why is it not okay to trade reservations you can't use? You know, again, that's not something I'm going to be able to answer. It's a policy decision for us as far as how we're going to treat that. Let's see. Does the system verify the ORCA card is a valid number, or could we just type in any number and it would work? Andrew, that's a good question. Like I said, if you type in any number and it happens to be someone else's number, you are potentially going to be blocking someone from using our system that you don't want to do that to, I hope. We will start looking at having to audit, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure people know how to enter their number correctly. If we're doing all Bremerton Seattle, then all Seattle Bremerton will be losing a lot of return trips. This is an unfortunate change. I'm sorry you feel that way. We're trying to create a process that's faster, and can certainly have our system consultant take a look at that concern. Will a recording of this webinar be sent out to those who could not participate live? We can certainly do that. We can certainly do that. Can you clarify when this will happen? You will make reservations a week at a time, but will we still start the process on the first of every month and make weekly reservations for the available month? Yes, we will continue to open it up on the first business day of the month. So on June 11th, we make reservations for August. No, that is not correct. Reservations for August will open up on July 1st, just like the current process. July 1st is a Sunday. Okay, so that's my mistake. It would be the first business day, so that would be July the 2nd. Again, it's the same as always. The first business day of the month is when the reservation window opens. So I hope that clears that up. Some of you have pointed out that the times on the demo are not reflecting what's on our schedule. Please keep in mind that this is just a kind of beta site. So we will make sure that the times on the final reservation system match our schedule. So thank you. I really appreciate those of you who have enjoyed this webinar and think it's an effective use of our time. We will do more of these if you think that they're helpful. So that feedback's enormously helpful. It's one of the people here is asking, why can't you combine the agree and the process pages into one? That's certainly something we can share with our IT and with our vendor. I personally don't know why that's not possible, but we'll share that. So here, these two screens, why can't they be combined? I noticed a big improvement on the server response time this month for reservations. Good, glad to hear that. When is the second boat going to start service? You know, that's a question for another day. We're not covering that right now today. If you want a reservation for one day, you have to select the whole week and retract the 4 days you don't want. I would say yes and no. So here's how you would do that. If you want a 7:25 a.m. sailing and you only want it for one day, you just go to this day and you say not required. So like I said, anytime you design a system, there are certain priorities you have for a system. The system we have now is really designed for an occasional user. The system we're moving forward with is designed for a high frequent user like a commuter. That's just a decision we've made based on all the feedback we heard from our customers. So let's see here. Regarding Chrome, I know that the reservation stops working if you block third-party cookies. Well, that's good to hear. We'll share that with folks on this call. And let's see. I know some of you are looking for statistics on a reservation system, and unfortunately, we don't have statistics readily available, but we will make sure the consultant can see that. For the consultant review, we would love to find a way to make reservations not have everyone log on at once. If 9 a.m. on the first day of the month doesn't work, if I have a meeting or a personal emergency, I'm screwed and I get no reservations. Leslie, we'll pass that along. Thank you. Totally agree on banning bot and script users. Okay, well, we'll pass that along. If some of you know the people who are using these bots, feel free to let us know and we can look into it. We're not really equipped right now to identify who these bot users or script users are. But we can try to see what it is that we can do to enforce our policies. Okay, it looks like I scheduled this webinar for only half an hour, and it's 1:20 now. So I'm going to end it in just a minute here. For those of you who are left on the call, and I apologize I didn't do this sooner, I just would like you to take a quick poll if you're still on the call. There's a poll up on your screen right now. It's asking, how do you typically pay your fare to ride the fast ferry? And it looks like 100% of you use an ORCA card. Oh, someone from Amazon says, I know some bot users. What a surprise. Okay. Well, let us know their names. We'd love to talk to them. Again, like I said, if you pay with the UPass, you just are going to use the 8-digit number on the back of your card to enter that in the system. And if you have a company pass, you're going to use the ORCA number on your company pass. So again, I really appreciate the time everyone took to participate. I'm going to close the poll here. Looks like 77% of you pay with the monthly pass and the ORCA card, and 23% pay with an ORCA e-purse. So none of you should have a problem with having an ORCA card number. Again, I really appreciate your patience with me. This has been a little bit difficult sometimes when you don't have all the answers, but we really are trying to be transparent with you. And, I want to just take 1 second here to make sure everyone here is aware of our Fast Ferry data dashboard. For those of you who are still on the call, it's a really neat feature where we're trying to be transparent with you about our ridership each month, about our reliability, how many sailings that were scheduled were actually completed, what was the reason for cancellations. We categorized them into 3 categories. And then if you're trying to make a reservation, you might look at our usage tab here. It's the second tab. And you can actually drill down here by time. And so let's say you are reserving on the 8 a.m. sailings. Well, this is for the current period of December through April. If you hover over it, you'll see that 87% of the time the boat is 87% of the boat is full on average. And if you click on it, it's going to actually bring up what the usage is by month. So like in the month of April, out of the 19 sailings that we completed, 5 were filled to 100% capacity, 14 were filled to at least somewhere between 75% and 99% capacity. So if you haven't sort of checked out this dashboard, I would encourage you to do that. You'll see here that we're doing pretty well in terms of filling up the boat, but there are still seats that are available on certain sailings. But on our peak sailings, you're right, we're routinely filling those to capacity. So maybe in the future we'll be able to add more data here, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware that we have this on our website at kitsaptransit.com/fast-ferry data. And if you have any other questions that I didn't answer, I wanted to put my email address up on the screen. Well, it's not there, so that's not very helpful. Let me just do that real quick. So that's my email address, sanjayb@kitsaptransit.com. Feel free to email me. Like I said, we'll make a recording available on our website, and we will email a link to the people who couldn't attend, who registered. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your day. And thanks for riding Kitsap Transit. Take care, everyone.